Welcome back to Kurz Wind Conversations, where we talk to the people behind the progress in renewable energy, from field techs to executive leaders. Today, I'm joined by someone who brings a unique mix of global perspective, technical insight, and leadership to our industry. Kristian Brøndum, head of sales and marketing at Hoyer Motors. Hoyer may be known for powering motion across a range of industries, but in the wind sector, they've carved out a meaningful role in ensuring reliability where it matters most. In this conversation, we're going to explore Kristian's personal journey into renewables, how Hoyer approaches motor solutions for wind systems, and what it really means to be a thoughtful supplier in a rapidly evolving energy landscape. This is about sales and specs. It's about ideas, leadership, and the people working behind the scenes to keep turbines turning. Kristian, thank you for joining us, Kristian. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I have prepared myself for meeting up with you this afternoon in Denmark. It's now past 4 o'clock, but I've been looking forward to this all day long, Robert. So I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
As have I, because I had the wonderful opportunity to visit your wonderful country, meet some of your compatriots, and it was a great time. I have to say, I loved the food. It was a great place. I got to visit
Nice.
your national museum too. It was a great time. I loved it. I'm hoping I can go back there someday. But
You,
you
you're
know,
most welcome. You're most welcome.
and you come over and visit us now. I know you've already come once, so you got to
For
come
sure.
again. So
For sure, Robert. I promise.
good. So Kristian, let's start out. I'm always whenever I have these interviews, I'm always very interested in the kind of your personal journey into wind and your perspective. I also had a journey into wind, a little bit different as a start, but tell me about how your career began. What kind of first drew you into the world of, say, industrial engineering or manufacturing?
Robert, now I'm 56 years old, living in the center of Denmark. It's a long story, but I will not make it too long. But when I was actually a young man, my dream was actually to be end up in export sales. I didn't really know what to sell, but I just wanted to go out in the big world and meet different cultures and different people and so on, and do some selling. I think I have actually always been quite outgoing as a person. So anyway. I went to the business university studying business and marketing, and after ending up doing my exams, I was quite lucky to get an offer from for a job in one of the world's largest pork slaughterhouse companies, which is actually a Danish company called Danish Crown. I think they are killing approximately 18, 20 million pigs a year. We are 6 million people in Denmark, so it's a quite huge company. So I was extremely happy that I was the one chosen to end up in a job in Danish Crown. So actually, I ended up working in this industry for approximately the pork meat industry for approximately 18 years. And on top, I was working in the Danish furniture, also export industry for about 4 years. And throughout all these years, I have been selling in Asia, in Africa, in the Middle East, India, Australia, New Zealand, blah, 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 Europe. And of course, I was also selling I was so lucky to be selling a lot of tender loin ribs to Applebee's in the US. So that was also quite an experience. But I think to make it short, one of the most important details, I think, creating me as a person is that my home market you could say my home market was Japan for about 21 years. where I grew up in the Danish business or in Japanese business culture, where and it gave me quite a strong background, I would say, with the diligence and the respect, honesty, and relationships building. And that was quite important values that I learned in Japan, and I think that formed me or made me who I am today, and that's why I think actually that's you could say that's how I ended up with Hoyer, because of my commercial background. Because I really didn't have much clue about motors and the renewable industry. But here I am, and I'm very happy that I you could say went into a new industry, and I learned a lot throughout the 4 years that I've now been working with Hoyer.
That's incredible. That's a really interesting journey. So, first off, I love pork. So I would have been happy in your original industry too. So, but what kind of specifically led you from? I mean, you have such an expansive career. It sounds like what kind of led you to specifically Hoyer and kind of kept you engaged in that space over the last 4 years. I mean, that's a big deal to change your industry and learn a whole new one. So
Yeah,
I'm very interested.
yeah, truly, and I was also, you could say, very. I was very, you could say, very happy that I got the chance to change industry, because for me there was a big difference. But actually, when Hoyer hired me, they told me that they actually thought that pork meat would be much more complex than motors, and I said, well, let's say so. so actually, I experienced, Robert, that then when I went out to the big world with motors in my bag instead of Danish furniture and pork meat, it just showed that I used the exact same tools that I used throughout the time. So actually, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if I sell furniture, pork meat, or motors. It's the same tools that I use. So no doubt that Hoyer actually saw a strong value in my maybe seniority and my many years of commercial experience from complex markets. And that's why we agreed to partner up. You could also say that my interest and understanding of the wind and renewable industry has just grown and grown. And at the same time, my network and my contacts in this sector has also grown quite fast. So at the end of the day, the many strong relations that I've made in this industry and the success I've experienced and the potential in front of me just wants me to continue doing a difference here.
I agree. Again, such an expansive global perspective that you bring to what you're doing. You've held leadership positions, it seems like, across various roles, several, say, international markets. How have you seen the energy industry kind of evolve across borders?
Um, Having been with Hoyer for only 4 years, I have not been working in and for the energy industry for many years, you would say. But however, I have for many years been following the wind industry, as I've been the happy owner of Vestas stocks for more than 20 years. At that time, when I bought it, it was called Energy Micon. Um, but that somehow gave me a natural interest in the wind and the energy industry over the years. Just following Vestas to see how they have been growing and growing. So that's also why it was fantastic for me to end up where I am today. However, everybody have realized that energy today is a part of a critical infrastructure, especially after Russia unfortunately attacked Ukraine. It's very close to us here in Europe, right? So it actually means that we have all, mainly in Europe, moved closer together, making tighter bonds across borders to make each nation, you could say, less vulnerable and less dependent on oil and gas, I would say. For example, Denmark and Germany have now decided to build a pipeline that can bring green hydrogen from Denmark to Germany, to German industry. Because the German industry is today, you could say, too dependent on gas, which was in the past bought in Russia. And with the focus on the green transition and more complex energy, with less oil and gas, more nations have become players and a part of the energy supply industry, crossing borders, I would say. I think especially Europe will over time be less and less dependent on traditional suppliers of energy like oil and gas from Russia and the Middle East, Robert. And actually, it was just announced yesterday that the EU decided that from January or from in 2026, it will actually be illegal for the EU countries to buy oil and gas from Russia. So we are in a hurry. We have about 1 year, to get completely rid of it. And it's not an easy task just to find new energy out there. We know that the Americans are ready to help us with the LNG and so on. So we will find our way with support from good partners out there. But this decision also made by EU might also hopefully also give a boost to the wind industry, among others. And with Vestas as a Danish company, we Danes are happy that if the wind industry will finally get a boost, because it is moving a little bit too slow, I would say. But let's see. I think we will see a lot of good things happening to the wind industry actually, and renewables in general.
I agree. I think it's going to continue to grow. I would love it if it was skyrocketing rise, like you were just saying.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little slow. I would love it if it continue to pick up. So I love what we do. I love the industry, and I do believe passionately that there definitely has to be an energy diversification
For sure.
globally.
Exactly.
Not relying on any one particular, but diversifying now. So that's some good thoughts. So let's zero the conversation a little bit on Hoyer Motors and its place in renewables. It's known for Hoyer's is kind of known for their robust work within industrial applications, but what role does the company play in the renewable energy space, particularly like wind, let's say?
Yeah. How I see it, I think that Hoyer might be a bit different than many of the bigger motor suppliers to renewable and wind, simply because we are an agile, you could say flexible, small, middle-sized company doing a huge effort of listening and understanding our partners and customers, aiming on fulfilling the exact needs and wants that they might have. We actually make a strong effort in understanding wind. It might also be a small plus that we are Danish. I don't know, but I'm not sure. But we have a strong reference in being suppliers to the Danish Vestas, the German Siemens Gamesa, and the American GE. Hoyer is proud of that. And when I go around the world visiting wind and renewable exhibition, Danes are all over the place. Maybe you have also seen that, Robert. You can't get rid of the Danes when you say wind. Sorry about that, but
no, that's okay. They have their whole, like when we were at Hamburg together, they have their whole pavilion.
Exactly.
Yeah, I loved it. It was good. So continue. I'm sorry.
True. No. but no doubt that actually also just throughout the 4 years I've been with Hoyer, that Hoyer is playing an increasing role in the wind industry, as our name is for sure today well known and well regarded, and one of the few supplying to the largest offshore platforms in the world actually. So I think we are playing a role, and we are well known in the wind industry nowadays.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen your product and your name show up a lot more in America here. So
Okay.
and I'm very happy to see that too. So you've put in the time and the effort. So let's talk about what maybe are some of the specific motor system needs or challenges in the wind turbine application that Hoyer addresses.
Hoyer is nowadays, with our experience, we are very much aware of the possible weak points when it comes to motors installed in wind turbines. That's also why we have developed our own, you could say, secret recipe or Hoyer WindSpec constructed especially to secure the best in class reliability and giving less downtime. Hoyer is not just selling a motor at lowest possible price. We are selling reliable motor solutions at competitive prices. We do not necessarily aim to be the cheapest, but we aim to be among the best, still selling at a competitive price. This also means that we do not just offer a standard configuration, but a configuration that is developed for the specific wind turbine platform, the environment that it works in, and the job that the motor is going to do in the turbine, if it's pitch or cooling or oil pumping or whatever. We go in and look case by case if it's a motor for cooling or for oil pump or yaw in cold. If is it going to be cold areas, in hot areas, in humid areas, in dry areas. How I consider all these factors when constructing and configuring motors to secure the highest possible reliability and the longest lifetime. That's what we believe in, actually.
Yeah, and you rolled kind of like you blended into the next question I was just going to ask.
Yeah.
From what I've seen in the wind industry at my time at the farms and now where I'm at with Kurz, there seems to be a delicate balance between, say, like customization of the motors and reliability, and the fact that these motors oftentimes are running 24/7, depending and there's harsh conditions, and so how does Hoyer address that kind of that delicate balance between those two? Because, like you just described, these motors could be running anywhere. And they would have to suffer, intense heat and cold changes. So there's a lot going on. I mean, one of the things we, because I've been to your home country and across Europe. I know you guys, your wind farms are maybe smaller in scale,
Yeah.
whereas the American wind farms are like larger in scale, and they're also positioned a lot in the farmland. So one of the
Mm.
other harsh conditions that we run into is whenever those farmers are harvesting, there's a lot of microparticles and stuff that get into the air and get into the turbine. So there's definitely a lot of harsh conditions. How would you say that Hoyer deals with that reliability slash customizing it for the clients?
Yeah, as I told you, Robert, we have our, you could say, our secret recipe. It sounds like a cookie recipe, but it's not. It's a motor recipe, and we have different strings to play on. So actually, we when we go into developing motors for new buildings or for the aftermarket and so on, we very much look into what conditions, what things that the motors might be facing in the different turbines which are installed. Yeah, as you say, it could be installed in very different countries in very different conditions. So actually, we are able to secure that our motors are able to run both in very cold areas and very hot areas. We when there's a lot of dust and so on, we can also secure that the higher insulation class and so on, to secure that dust is not coming into the motor and so on in the bearings, etc. We have different possibilities, and we always go in looking at that when we configure a motor. And we have really we have succeeded with that. Actually, for my 4 years in Hoyer, we have actually, with that recipe in hand, we are yeah we I cannot even remember the last time we had a claim on a motor.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome. All right.
yeah.
You've been there 4 years. I'm almost positive you probably worked on some sort of special project or, something like
Mm.
that. What kind of recent renewable special project are you particularly say proud of that you've done recently with Hoyer?
Um, Actually, there's more, Robert. I'm actually very proud that Hoyer motors are actually today installed in both Vestas and Siemens Gamesa's largest offshore wind turbines. It means that the 15 megawatt offshore turbine from Vestas and the 14 megawatt offshore turbine from Siemens. If you here you find Hoyer Motors. We're a part of these platforms. We are selected by these two giants, and that's I think it's quite well done by us. It's of course a teamwork, and it's also a teamwork with the partners that we're working with, both on cooling and hydraulics, etc., to the turbines. So it's a cooperation. It's a strong partnership that we have with our customers. And especially these two is a good reference. It's a milestone and a proof that we have something special to offer. Both when it comes to know-how, service, reliability, and at the end of the day also pricing. That we are also competitive. We have actually here succeeded in something that most motors producers can only dream of. I would say that makes me quite proud, and I often use that as a reference when we go around the world and I meet somebody saying, "Who are Hoyer? Can we trust these guys?" and so on. And it's like they open the eyes and open the ears when I tell that actually we are part of these two platforms from Vestas and Siemens. And then, of course, Robert, I'm also very happy and proud that we have built up a strong aftermarket in the US, together with the strong partners like you, Robert and Kurz. That's also something that I'm very proud of.
As are
And
we.
Rob,
As are we. If it, I know I'm not an OEM platform like Siemens or Vestas, but if anybody takes my word for it, they are a great motor. They are great partners to work with. Take my
thank you,
small
Robert. That's fantastic.
endorsement.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah,
But
but
I don't know how much my opinion carries. But hey,
no, no, it's important. But Robert, when we actually create and configure motors for the aftermarket for older platforms in US, for example, it's also important to have a good partner with Kurz, because without we have to be in the same boat and work shoulder by shoulder as a team to make it work right. So it's just not me and Hoyer. It's also you and Kurtz who are doing a difference. So that's also something that I'm very proud of and very happy about.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Well, Hoyer has become, in my opinion, a thought leader, in the industry. Uh, we are seeing an increase in the. It's a data-driven world nowadays, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And predictive maintenance is, things like that, AI, all that kind of stuff. How's Hoyer adapting in the terms of, say, like design and service and connectivity in their motors, or yeah, and in their product lines within the wind industry?
Um, Data is important. It's getting more and more important. But I would say so far it has not had a large impact on how we are working in Hoyer in wind. We have always been focusing on customers' pains, needs, and wants, offering our best solutions. And I think we listen, and customers' input are our most important data. we often act as an advisor when we are developing motors for new and larger platforms for Siemens, Vestas, and GE. And so we listen, we make our analysis, we go into a dialogue and create our solutions fit for purpose when we go into new projects or need and act from there. So I would say that data in the sense that we're talking about is not really something that we can use that much so far, but somehow data is also important in the sense that we Hoyer actually produce or we provide different test data to our customers when looking into new products and new prototypes. Because at Hoyer we have our own certificated test center, so we are able to provide a wide range of data when needed, and that is being more and more important. And actually, our customers, are, especially when we go into the OEM market and new development, data is very much needed. I know that you're talking different kind of data here, Robert, but data in that sense that you mean it, we don't really use it that much. I would say.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it does sound like that. Like one of the things, for example, in my mind, I'm trying to think this out is, uh, the only thing that you can really expect in life is change, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
as we move forward, we have to adapt, overcome, be kind of what I was going to say, like future ready as a
yeah,
supplier. I myself am all, in my, curves, we're always trying to think into the future, like what is going to happen so that we can be prepared to change with it.
yeah,
In your
yeah.
mind, being an expert in wind and in motors, what is one of the things as a supplier of your product lines that you're future ready, for the energy of tomorrow? How does that look for you?
Um, I think it's very important to establish a strong relationship and partnerships that can make one plus one become three.
Okay.
We have to make sure that we have the capacity and the know-how in place, making us able to support our partners and the OEMs when we together develop next generation turbines. I think that's very important to for the future. The closer we work together, we get a more smooth progress in projects, and we're ending up with better results. You could say beating our competitors. We have to be agile. We have to be flexible and open for new ways of thinking, not just doing as we did yesterday. We have to be ready for change.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. One of the things, that you had just mentioned about providing technical data, things like that, I want to dive into that just a tiny bit, more. How does the feedback kind of loop from operators in the field to your engineering teams work out? How does that work so that you're getting the best, after your engineering team maybe gets a problem that you've heard from the field? How do they go about fixing that so that we can push that out to, people and say, oh, here, this is the reason why that happened. Here's the solution. How does that process look for you?
Yeah. Um, developing new complex motor configurations, they're quite complex often for OEMs. That's quite technical. So actually, I always set up project teams involving both engineers from Hoyer and engineers from our partners and customers. Um, you know, the engineers and the technical people, they talk the same language. And at the same time, I see a strong advantage in creating deeper relations between organizations. Actually, quite often open doors in the organizations. Partnering up engineers with engineers, and then I'm just stepping a bit aside and let them do the talking and of course, we actually when we start delivering and when our motors start operating in the platforms that are being installed around the world, we listen and learn whenever there's challenges or anything. But I think actually, fortunately, we don't get we actually do the job. So it's not a big issue for us. But having said that, I think it's just important to build relations between the organizations, not only between sales and purchase, but also engineers to engineers, I would say. Because they give each other important feedback, and they give the dialogue that's needed to create the best solutions, actually. Because I'm not really technical. I'm semi-technical, but I'm not an engineer.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm not an engineer, but
Yeah,
I try my best to be able to understand,
exactly,
converse, and answer. I
exactly.
what we always try to say is we should be able to answer about 80% of the questions,
Mhm.
and only have to refer about 20% of the questions up to that engineering level. And then allow them to explain it. So,
Absolutely. I
good
agree,
stuff. Good stuff.
Robert. Yeah.
So, okay, you've been at this for a while. We've gone through that. What if you had the ability to clear up one misconception in the motor market today? What would that be?
Um, motors are important, critical components in a wind turbine. Actually, if, for example, and you could say an oil pump motor breaks down or a cooling motor breaks down, it might have a fatal consequence if the turbine is not stopped. And maybe many purchasers, they don't realize that, they're just fighting for the lowest possible price, but they don't always realize how important that this a motor is a very critical component. So it's actually much more important to get the correct configuration that keeps the turbine spinning than getting a cheap price, because at the end of the day it could be it could be fatal. If you install the correct configuration, the motors will rarely fail, and rarely fail for years, actually. This is also why it's more important to go with the correct configuration than with the cheapest configuration. It might be costly. The wind industry is fairly conservative now and then, and they tend to do as they did last time or yesterday. That's why we at Hoyer often take an advisor role. We try to guide our customers in the right direction, securing that we end up with a configuration fit for purpose, not being under or over spec. So I think now and then, yeah, it's the realization that emotions is a critical part that's always not seen, I would say.
So basically, don't go out there and just go for the cheapest. You don't have to go for the most
No,
expensive, but
no,
you do need a quality motor, and
exactly.
that's what Warrior's providing is a good
Ex-
quality motor. Um, and
exactly.
I've seen it go out quite a bit, and I've not ever had one complaint. So I totally agree with you there. So
Happy hearing so, Rob.
good. Yeah. So hey, I think when you're at a job that it's not just a job per se. For me, it's not. I enjoy being where I'm at. Uh, you have to find things that inspire you to stay involved in the industry to keep that passion and fire. What does that for you when you're day to day within the wind industry?
Um I think it's a bit like Christmas every day. It's always interesting to see what is going to happen tomorrow. Um, what is the next step? It keeps me on my toes as I always hunt down the next opportunity. Um, and no doubt, as this is a complex business, strong relations and partnerships are crucial, which is something that I like the most as a part of my job. You know, creating relations and partnerships and friendships like I have with good guys from and girls from Kurz, for example. I like to feel the energy we create together and the success that we make as a team. You know, as partners, shoulder by shoulder. That's what I aim at, and that's what I think is fantastic. And that's why I want to stay involved here and do a difference.
Yeah, definitely. Um, Now we've already talked about it. You have an immense amount of experience across different industries now in wind. There's a lot of young people out there who are in college. There's also, like, we've been to the shows and we've seen the Kid Wind program and things like that. So we have a lot of young people that are coming up in the industry, hopefully to grow it out. Whether you're talking to, say, an engineer, marketing guy, or a sales agent, or something like that, what is a piece of advice that you would give them so that they can make an impact on the future of renewables?
Um, I would say in this industry, when you are young, you are less experienced, etc. Be patient. You know, try to listen, learn, and understand. You know, take small steps at a time because create a network and partner up with the best, and doors will open step by step. Look out of the window and understand the dynamics in the market, the political trends and agendas. What are the pains and what are the trends? Who are your competitors? Where are the strengths and weaknesses, etc. Slowly, you will move into the inner circle, and you will get a chance to play a role and get listened to. That's what I've been doing. Networking is extremely important in the renewable industry, and actually, I've used it quite a lot. When I have questions, have doubts, and so on. I know. There's a lot of people that I can just call or contact, and they'll be happy to give me their advice and their input. So use the network, create a network. That's very important, and be
Agreed.
patient. Yeah.
Agreed.
Uh,
I've said this a couple different times, maybe either on the show or in various other places, that wind energy might be a global entity, but it is still fairly small and tribal. We
it
meet
is.
a lot of people that, hey, seen you at that other show, and I've started seeing you at that wind farm, or we've had a meeting with your company and seen you there. So there's a lot of interconnectivity, and I know the lady who trained me when I got it to Kurz, she always used to say, "Hey, you don't really leave wind; you just kind of change your business card once you're in
Exactly, exactly, Robert.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
somehow like a small family, and
yeah,
when you see here in Denmark people changing job, they just stay in, they just switch to the another wind related company and so on. They stay in the inner circle, so it is like a small family.
yeah,
It is actually.
definitely.
So networking is extremely important.
Very important, very important. So get those LinkedIn's filled up with that
Do
500
that.
friends and stuff like that, and
Do
be
that.
active on there. So I totally agree with that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and well, Kristian, I want to thank you for joining me today and sharing not just Hoyer's story, but your own also. It's clear that supporting the renewable space requires more than just good equipment. It takes trust, it takes adaptability, it takes the leadership to listen, right? So,
Yeah.
to our listeners out there, thank you for tuning in. If this conversation sparked something for you, follow Kurz Wind Conversations on Spotify or YouTube, and check us out on LinkedIn at Kurz Wind Division. You can also find Hoyer on LinkedIn. You can also learn more about Kurz at www.kurz.com. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and keep the wind at your back. Thank you.